Want a VNC in? Maybe that'd be easier.
No, I think you got it. And let me just check YouTube quick. Yeah, I think we're live. Can you just check? Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Christy Savakinas, and I am the Director of Technology at Pittston Area School District. I would like to welcome everyone to the first virtual regular board meeting for April 28th, 2020. Attendees tonight include the Board of Education members, our Superintendent, Mr. Kevin Booth, Business Manager, Mr. Albert Malone, Solicitor, Attorney Samuel Falcone. Also attending are members of the district administrative team and our board secretary, Mrs. Claire Ellen Hopple. Mrs. Hopple will be available to field questions for those attending via the live stream, available from the Pittston Area School District website. For those of you attending live, please note that there is a link available on the website to download and view tonight's agenda. The agenda will not be shown during the live stream, so we can focus on the board members as they present the agenda. At any point in time during the meeting, you can direct questions by emailing Mrs. Hopple at clairellen.hopple@pittstonarea.com. Mrs. Hopple's email address can also be found on the homepage of Pittston Area School District website, www.pittstonarea.com. I would like to start the meeting by sharing my screen and showcasing our fourth grade teachers who recently put together a video of the Pledge of Allegiance to share with PA homepage. Please rise and join in with them as I share my screen. Please rise and join in with them as I share my screen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
I would now like to turn the meeting over to our school board president, Dr. Frank Serino.
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Claire Ellen.
Mr. Addisio,
Present.
Dr. Cooper,
Here.
Mr. Crawford, Mr. Knick,
Here.
Mr. Lawler,
Here.
Mr. Quinn,
Here.
Ms. Ricotta,
Here.
Mr. Salvo,
Present.
Dr. Serino.
Present. The board met in exec session on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 4 p.m. by virtual communication for the purpose of discussing personnel. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of February 18, 2020.
Dr. Serino,
Motion.
if I may, we'll go through my agenda before we go to that portion of the meeting.
Okay.
And also, when you do read that section, we also did meet in an executive session on the April 17th and April 28th, if you want to add that to your notes. Before I begin my agenda, I would just like to take this time to thank all the board members and our technology department. We are all learning on the fly here with technology as parents and students and teachers, and everybody is learning through this terribly difficult time in all of our lives. And sometimes when you're starting something new, you have a little bit of a hiccup. So trying to get everybody hooked up tonight was not the easiest thing in the world. And, you know, we understand that that's happening in people's daily lives every day. But I'd also like to take this time to thank our faculty for the job that they're doing. They've jumped right in this whole new platform of education. And, you know, everybody is rolling up their sleeves and doing the very best they can in this very difficult situation. I'd also like to thank our parents for working with their children. I know many of you did not go to school to be a teacher, and you're kind of thrown in that role right now more than I'm sure many of you would like to be. I want to let you know this is a work in progress. We're taking advice from the Department of Education and how best we can do this, and we're rolling with the punches. And it's not perfect right now, we understand that, but we are working every day to try to make this process better. For our students, the job that they've been doing with the platforms that we rolled out with Odysseyware, with Ingenuity, to see the participation of our students is fantastic. And we expect that to continue till the end of the year. To our seniors, I'm not only the superintendent of Pittston area, but I'm also the parent of a senior. And to have their senior year upended in this way is not fair to any of them. It's not a perfect situation. It's not anything that we want our students to be going through. And we're making every effort to make this senior year, I don't want to say memorable because it already is, but that we recognize our seniors for their commitment to Pittston area and all that they've done for the school. We're going to hold out all hope that we could have a prom and a class night and an awards night and graduation, most importantly. But these are all things that, you know, every day we're learning new things about this virus and what we can and can't do. And we're going to continue to take advice from PDE, from the governor's office, from the CDC, until we have an answer. Dr. Haas and Mr. Lezebnik have been working with our student body and with our senior class officers. They plan on meeting with our senior parents. We want everyone's input in this that we can have to come up with what we hope will be a glorious send-off to our senior class of 2020. With that being said, I will begin my agenda. The agenda was posted online, so if you have it, you can follow along. Under communications, C1, that the communication received from the Luzerne Intermediate Unit, number 18, enclosing copies of its meeting held on January 22nd, 2020, and February 26, 2020, be acknowledged as received and placed on file. C2, that the abatements and additions received from the Luzerne County Assessments Office be acknowledged as received and placed on file. C3, we don't really have to worry about because right now no one is going to be using our school facilities. F1, that the Title I delinquent, Title II, Family Center for Child Development, and all other federal programs and subsequent grants awarded for the 2019-2020 school year, upon review and approval of the superintendent, be forwarded to the Department of Education. F2, that the communication from the Director of Assessments, Luzerne County Board of Assessment Appeals, Assessor's Office, Wilkes-Barre, PA, requesting a refund of paid taxes be made to the following: Corey and Janelle Kime, Amanda Cummings, Patrick Confletti. Under bids, B1, that the Albert B. Malone Company business consultant be authorized to advertise for bids for the 2020-2021 tax anticipation note. B2, that the request for proposal sent out for health insurance consultant be ratified. We're going to make a couple additions to the bids. We're going to be asking for a request for proposal for the following: B3, our beverage contract for the school district; B4, our waste collection contract; and B5 will be athletic training services. That a request for proposal for those three areas be ratified. Under general, G1, that the agreement with Franklin and Marshall College hosting a regional program of college advising corps be acknowledged as received and approved and placed on file. G2, that the Pittston Area School District's single audit for the year ended June 30th, 2019 from Rainey and Rainey Certified Public Accountants be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. G3, that the district's food service contract with Nutrition, Inc. be renewed for the 2020-21 school year. G4, that the special education plan report for July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2023 be accepted and approved. We're going to make an addition to the agenda. It will be G5, that we establish June 5th, 2020 as the last day of school. Friday, June 5th, 2020 as the last day of school, with our graduation ceremony to be postponed until further notice. And that includes my report. Dr. Serino, would like to begin?
Just one, yes, one question, Kev. On the G5, the last day,
Yes.
and mine here, I have G5, the resolution calling for charter school reform.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one.
Want to make that a G6?
G6, yes.
Okay.
G5 is a resolution for charter school reform, and G6 will establish June 5th as the last day of school.
Got it. 1 second. On the communications, I'd like to entertain a motion that
Before that,
C1.
Excuse
All
me,
right, what am I
Dr.
asking? Yes, yes.
We're going to have to go new business for the work session.
Oh, I'm sorry, work session. Yep. Is there any new business from the board? If not, We're good?
If there is public input, again, we ask that anyone with public input, please email Claire Ellen Hoppel at pittstonarea.com, and we will answer all questions as quickly as we can under current circumstances.
Karen, as a matter of record, can we confirm that Claire Ellen has not received any emails in regard to agenda items at this point?
Not.
She's nodding affirmatively right now. She is muted.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Claire. I just wanted that to be part of the record, and then we will continue to answer those emails if they do come in a little bit late, even if they're after the vote, because of the circumstances. So I just wanted to make sure as a matter of record. Thank you.
And now I'll entertain the motion, C1 through C3, be accepted, approved. No,
We need to call the regular meeting to order.
You mean the regular meeting?
Yes.
If I may, I'd like to begin the meeting, the regular meeting, and have a roll call. Claire Ellen?
Claire, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Mr. Agnizio,
Present.
Dr. Cooper,
Here.
Mr. Crawford,
Here.
Mr. Knick,
Here.
Mr. Lawler,
Here.
Mr. Quinn, I didn't hear Mr. Quinn.
Here.
Ms. Ricotta,
Here.
Mr. Salvo, Dr. Serino.
Yes.
Okay.
There. The board met in exec session on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m. by virtual communication for the purpose of discussing personnel, and also on 17th and the 18th.
28.
I'm sorry, 28th. We'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes for February 18th, 2020.
John Agnizio.
I'll make that motion, Marty.
Second, Frank Lawler.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Dr. Serino.
Yes. And now for the third time, a motion that C1 through C3 be accepted, received, and approved and placed on file.
Motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Serino.
Yes. Roll call?
I'm gonna go
All
finance.
right. Hold on, we're flipping pages here. Now entertain a motion for bids.
No, finance.
B1. Hold on.
It will be finance F1 through F2.
I got it. Yeah, I see it. A motion for F1 and F2 to be approved.
Mr. Anizio, motion.
Mr. Knick, second.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Entertain a motion that B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5 be accepted as so presented.
Marty Quinn, motion.
Frank Lawler, second.
Mr. Agnizio,
Mr. Anizio, you're muted.
Mr. Agnizio,
Mr. Anizio, yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. I'll now entertain a motion for G1, G2, G4, and G5. Motion to accept.
Motion, Mike Crawford.
Second, Marty Quinn.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Entertain a motion that G3 be tabled.
Mr. Anizio.
Mr. Knick, second.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Also, G5 and G6 be accepted as so presented. Motion?
I'll make that motion, Marty Quinn.
Mr. Anizio, second.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Entertain a motion for P1 to P6 be accepted as so presented.
motion,
Motion, Mr.
I need a second.
Second, Mike Crawford.
Second, Mr. Knick.
Mr. Agnizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Now entertain a motion to appoint position of high school principal, salary, benefits as per contractual agreement.
Mr. Agnizio, I nominate Chris Lesevnik to be appointed high school principal. I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations at this point? If not, let's do roll call.
Mr. Ednizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
No.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
no,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Now entertain a motion that FB1 through FB6 be accepted as so presented.
Motion, Mr. Knick.
I'll second that. Motion, Marty Quinn.
Mr. Ednizio, Mr. Ednizio,
You're muted.
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. That would conclude the part of the meeting. Is there any new business from the board? If not, Kevin, what do you want to do with the public input here? Just remind them again?
Yes, once again, if you have any public input, any questions that you would like to ask, please send them to Claire Ellen Hoppel, claireellen.hoppel@pittstonarea.com. We did receive a couple questions this afternoon, and I kind of alluded to some of them, but we have a question from Maria O'Boyle. Do we have any idea when a decision will be made as the end of year senior events? I tried to touch on that in the beginning. Again, we're going to bring kids and parents and everyone together and try to do something special for these students. We also received a question from Melissa Cincetti, who was also asking, are there any plans currently being made to honor our spring athletes, as well as recognition of the 2019-20 basketball team's accomplishments? Once again, as soon as we're back together in school, I don't care. I'm sure next basketball season, we'll definitely look to recognize our past boys' accomplishments and winning the first state playoff game in school history. We're definitely going to celebrate that at some point. And any of our spring athletes, we are in the process now. If you are a senior spring athlete, you will be receiving your letter. So all seniors will be receiving their senior letter for their spring sport. If they were on the roster, they will be getting a letter. And everything else we'll be celebrating as soon as we can. And we did receive a letter from Miss Christine Orluck. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And again, as I alluded to earlier, this is a work in progress. Her question was about the current state of our education, our continuity of education plan, and what we're doing for the students, and somewhat of the burden that it's putting on parents. And we understand that this is a very difficult time for parents trying to work with their kids, and kids trying to adapt to learning online, especially. I believe she has a third or fourth grader. And again, it's a work in progress. We're going to look to see what we could do over the summer to try to remediate and continue to work towards delivering the best education that we can. under these circumstances. Those are the only questions that we've gotten so far, but please, if you have more, please feel free, send them in, and we'll answer them as quickly as we can.
The next scheduled meeting of the Pittston Area School Board of Directors will be held on Tuesday, May 19, 2020 at 6 p.m. on an exec session starting at 5 p.m. for the purpose of discussing personnel. This is a tentative date depending on government regulations. We have a motion on that?
Mr. Anizio, motion.
Frank Lawler, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we can't
Aye.
do that. Whatever. Yeah. No. Are we good with that, Sam? Or we got to do names?
It's a motion to adjourn at this point. We should hold the formality. Unmute yourself.
All right.
Let's roll call and wrap up.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Marty Quinn.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
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 And that would conclude tonight's meeting. Thank you.
I hope this recorded that I can watch it.